Good day and welcome to our show, Voices of Veterans, a new series that's beginning now. This is our first show, and it's a very special show. We have some very special guests with us, and we're going to be discussing the We Honor Veterans program, which is a national program, and we're going to also learn about the new facility of the Hospice of Medina County, where this program is being put into place. My guests are Pat Strafko-O'Leary, Executive Director of the Hospice of Medina County, Christine Gorey, Director of Marketing, and we also have John Pryor, who is a volunteer. He's a veteran and a volunteer at the HMC Hospice of Medina County. Now let's start with John. John, first of all, you're a veteran. What branch of service did you serve in?
I was in the United States Air Force from the late 1950s to early 1960s. I was lucky. I got out before Vietnam heated up, and they must have forgot about me because they never called me back.
Okay. Well, we're showing a picture of you right now when you were a young, strappy man there. And if you get a look at the cars behind you, you'll actually see what time period we're talking about. That's very interesting. Now, how did you find out about becoming a volunteer at the HMC Hospice of Medina County?
I never even knew hospice really existed, except maybe in the back of my mind, until one day, late last year, or it was early this year, early 2011, excuse me. I was reading a local paper and I saw a little article, a little blurb by Sam Boyer, whom everybody in the community knows, talking about different things. And she mentioned that Hospice of Medina County, as it was known at the time, was looking for volunteers, and specifically veteran volunteers. So I called the volunteer coordinator, and chatted. I got into the volunteer training program, and right from the get-go I decided that what I would like to try to do is to focus on volunteering to work with veterans and to help veterans. I've been doing it, my first real activity was started in about June of 2011.
I see. Very interesting. Well, let's first of all find out what hospice is all about. I have no idea, actually, and we have an expert here. Pat Strafko-O'Leary, Executive Director. You are a Director of the HMC Hospice of Medina. What's hospice about? What's its purpose?
Well, hospice cares for people who are terminally ill.
Oh,
and our whole goal is that you would live life to the fullest for the time that you have left. And so often what happens is that unless we're able to get your physical symptoms under control, you can't do anything else with your life. So pain management, symptom control are very important to us. Mm-hmm. And then your relationships, the psychosocial aspects of what you're experiencing. And every person is different. Every person has an individualized plan of care that's just designed unique for them and in conjunction with our veterans, unique to them as well.
I see. Very interesting. And do you have patients off campus as well?
We have patients in the community. As a matter of fact, most of our patients are in home. Mm-hmm. And we have nurses and social workers and home health aides and music therapists and occupational therapists, people that can go into the home depending on what your needs are and meeting those needs in the home. Mm-hmm. And our unit of care is not just the person. The unit of care is the person and their family, because we don't exist in a vacuum. So how your relationships are with your family, and we provide as many services for family members as we do for the patient, him or herself. Absolutely.
Oh, that's wonderful. I really was not aware. I imagine many people are not aware.
It's one of the best kept secrets.
That's what I have to say.
And there's so much misinformation about what happens. Mm-hmm. You know, people think that you die screaming, wailing, gnashing your teeth, pushing it off as long as possible. Mm-hmm. And in reality, there is death with dignity. And that's what hospice works to provide for you and your family.
Now, how does one enroll in this into the hospice? Is there a special way?
You just call. Nobody can deny you hospice. If you want, and particularly people who have had this long chronic disease or this long sense of treatment and things are not working and they know that they're not getting any better, somebody just call hospice. And actually, the earlier people call us, the more we can do. Most people think that they're appropriate for hospice when you're bedbound. And by the time you're bedbound, you're actually weeks from dying. We want to get you when you're still up and about. You can do things, and you can make some reconciliations with your family and do the kinds of things that you'd like to do at end of life.
I see. That's excellent. Now, could you tell us about your hospice? It's a brand new facility. What exactly? Well, first of all, before you even do that, let me explain.
Okay.
This is a nonprofit, is it not?
Yes, we are.
How does that work?
We are. Well, let me first, can I just go back and tell you what our history is?
Absolutely.
You know, hospice as a healthcare offering is relatively young. Back in the 60s, when Kubler-Ross and a woman named Cicely Saunders were doing research on end-of-life care, hospice grew out of that, the modern hospice movement. So our hospice in Medina was started by a grassroots group of people, doctors and social workers and people at Catholic Social Services or the county health department, kind of came together and, you know, kind of like, we've heard about this thing called hospice for end-of-life care. Let's bring it to Medina. So they incorporated in 1981, and we are one of the oldest hospices in the area. And the community support that we've had over the years has actually culminated in this brand new building that we were able to erect. We started in March, we broke ground in March of 2011? 10. And
Seems like it was yesterday, right?
yeah, it seems. And then we moved in with our clerical and clinical staff December 12th, and this past Tuesday, we took our first inpatient. We have had an inpatient unit in a space that we leased in an assisted living facility. And then this allows us to expand the number of beds that we had. That got too small, and we didn't have enough specialty areas. So now we built this hospice like we thought a hospice should be built. And we've been able to do all sorts of things in this wonderful new building.
And was this done, provided for by donations? Or?
Well, a good portion. We're a Medicare, Medicaid provider, so we're able to bill for the care that we provide. But the care, the reimbursement doesn't really provide enough money for a building.
Oh, I see.
So we've been saving for 10 years for the building, and then we have a capital campaign that continues and is ongoing. And in fact, we have a loan from a commercial local bank. We have a loan from the USDA, so a government entity, Department of Agriculture. And the rest were our saved dollars and our capital campaign. So we were able to build this wonderful center that...
You receive assistance from the Veterans Administration?
Actually, we bill them for the care that we provide. So you could say that there's assistance there. Yes, and we have our veterans, we honor veterans program that we initiated last year that, you know, is as helpful as well.
Excellent. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just that our inpatient facility is designed for people whose symptoms need to be managed. And we have a bereavement area that's for the community that we do bereavement programs. We have an area where the clinical staff come and go to where the patients and families are. And we have an administrative area. And then in the back of the center is our 2 wings with all of the rooms that face the back, because we bought the land from the Medina County Park Service. So that will be a park, and our windows are floor to ceiling, and we bring nature inside, and patients and families have just said what a wonderful place it is.
That's wonderful.
Place to be.
Now, we know that John is a veteran volunteer to deal with veterans, but do you also need other volunteers?
Absolutely. Hospice is the only Medicare program that is required to have 5% of its hours done by volunteers. Because it was such a grassroots program from the very beginning, then Congress didn't want to allow that to be by the wayside. So it is incorporated into our regulations. And you mentioned before that we are not-for-profit. Anything we make as a not-for-profit gets plowed back into the program. So we're able to grow the program. We offer palliative care, we offer bereavement, we have several different programs under the umbrella of Hospice of Medina County. We also have a Medicare certified home care agency called Bridges Home Health Care.
Okay. Now you mentioned palliative care. What is that?
Palliative care is comfort care. So you could say that all of hospice is palliative care, but there are patients who are not terminally ill, who are plagued by chronic symptoms. Where under palliative care, we're never going to cure the underlying disease process, but we can make it more comfortable. So palliative care is care that makes the person more comfortable and makes whatever their condition is more bearable, so they can go about their daily lives in their own homes. And so we send people out to their home and we work with them in whatever way they need, whether it's pain management, whether it's nausea and vomiting, dizziness. There's a wide variety of symptoms that we are able to control out of our palliative care program. And this is for people who are not terminally ill. This is for people who are, and some of these people we see in our home health agency, which is a Medicare certified agency, Bridges Home Health Care.
I see. Well, I noticed in your background, you have an amazing background. You have an MBA in business.
Yes.
And you're also a nursing background, so you're a nurse.
I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for a very long time. When we opened up the home care agency, I realized that while I was a really good nurse, I was not so good with the financing.
I see.
So I went back to school. I thought I was going to be the oldest person there, and I wasn't.
Excellent.
Which was lovely, and got an MBA from Baldwin Wallace in healthcare administration.
Excellent. Well, I think it's a great combination,
Yeah.
nursing and healthcare administration.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for your story. Now, let's talk about the We Honor Veterans program, and Christine Gorey, Director of Marketing, is going to tell us about that. What is this program all about, this national program, and how does it fit into your HMC Hospice of Medina County program?
Well, Tim, as you mentioned, We Honor Veterans is a nationwide program. It's a partnership between the Veterans Administration and the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization. It was launched in September of 2010, and it really it has a twofold focus. From a Veterans Administration standpoint, they really want to focus on ensuring that veterans get connected with the resources and the benefits that are available to them. And from the hospice side, it's really about the respectful inquiry, compassionate listening, grateful acknowledgement, and really meeting veterans we often find have unique needs at end of life as a result of perhaps the combat that they have seen or other traumatic events. And that really starts to come back to them at end of life. And so this really focuses on helping with those needs.
I see. Now to do this, though, your organization has to become certified. Is that correct?
Well, you have to join the program. And so the way the program is structured is there are currently 4 levels in addition to a recruit level. So you would, hospices all across the country can sign up for this program, and they would sign up at the recruit level. And then there are different benchmarks and guidelines for what you need to do to get to the next level. And it does start at the recruit level, go up to level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Currently they're discussing adding a level 5. HMC Hospice of Medina County is currently a level 3. We're one of only 3 hospices in the state to be at the level 3.
Excellent.
And we're very proud of that. And you know, really, we've done a lot to educate our staff, and it's about working with a variety of veterans organizations locally and ensuring that our staff have the education and resources to help deal with the veterans and their unique needs and putting them in touch with their benefits and resources.
Interesting. Very good. And what about your background? How long have you been with this organization?
Actually, just shy of a year.
Oh, wonderful. You're a rookie, right?
Yes, I certainly am. I have lived in Medina County for years and years, and spent 15 years in healthcare marketing, but I was so glad to be able to join the organization at such an exciting time when we were, building the new building and moving in and launching really stellar programs like the We Honor Veterans. So
Right.
I'm
And it
thrilled
is a
to be there.
state-of-the-art facility without question, brand new from the
Yes.
ground up. I've been there
Oh,
and I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you.
Now we'll come to John Pryor. John Pryor, our Air Force veteran. You told us how you got involved. Now, what exactly do you do as a veteran to veteran?
There are basically two sides to the We Honor Veterans program that involves veteran volunteers. One side is pinning ceremonies where we do a pinning for individual veterans, and in some cases we do groups in community senior centers, home care centers, and so forth and so on. But by and large, it's individual pinnings for individual veterans who are members of hospice. The other side of the coin is we get assigned to a veteran who is a hospice patient, and we set up a schedule and we visit with them. I have a gentleman that I've been visiting since last June, about once a week since last June, and he's a joy. We'll tell you about him in a few minutes.
Okay.
I'm blessed too in that I've been able to help the organization. My background in civilian life was as a trainer and so forth, so I've been helping a little bit here and there with the outreach programs,
I see.
trying to get the message across, and I enjoy doing that because that's why we're here today. We're trying to get the message across because it's very, very important. And in one sense, it's been said in the past, and you know this one, that all a veteran ever wants is thanks. Just thanks
Oh,
for their
that is
service.
true.
And in a very unique way, this is thanking them for their service. You put it that way, this is thanking veterans for their service. As far as the pinning ceremonies are concerned, I mentioned individual pinnings, which usually focuses on individuals who are in hospice care. Also, the group pinnings, they don't necessarily have to be in hospice care, but if they're a member of a senior citizens program that gets involved in this, a care facility, so forth. We've done, I think the very first one we did a couple of years ago, or a year or so ago in Barberton was 25 or 30 people.
Really?
It was interesting because they're mostly older. We're not seeing a lot of Afghanistan veterans and so forth yet in this, but we pinned Army and Navy ladies who were Army and Navy nurses in World War II. We've pinned Vietnam veterans and so forth. So it's a joy just to talk to these people and just to hear their stories. The individual pinnings can be very, very moving. I did one just recently as a Marine veteran. He has cancer, and
Due to Agent Orange.
due to Agent Orange, yes, this one was an Agent Orange situation. And I visited him at the extended care facility where he is, met with his family, and he wasn't really able to communicate too much, but the folks and I talked and what have you. And I did the pinning ceremony, and I got to learn a little bit about what he did. He was over there, and he was in the thick of it, and he just basically got caught in some of the Agent Orange drops like so many. I have a former officer from my American Legion post had the same basic problem. He passed away a couple of years ago. And there's a lot of that going around. That basically is the pinning side of it. Every pinning is its own story. That's the interesting part of it. Every pinning is its own unique story. The other side is when we talk about the visitations. My veteran is the nicest guy in the world. It's the only way I can tell you. He is one happy guy. He's a World War II Army Air Corps veteran.
Okay.
He saw service in North Africa and Europe. And I had seen his service record, so I knew a little bit about his background. His wife showed me his DD-214. And I had seen that, and I said to him, well, one day when I first met him, I said, what'd you do in the service? He said, oh, not much. He says, I just worked in an office. And I just smiled at myself. I says, okay, here's one of the many that doesn't want to tell his story. And I'm still, to this day, trying to figure out how you can get 3 bronze stars pounding on a typewriter.
Oh my goodness.
He's a great guy. Like everybody, I have days where I got to drag myself out of the house and go do my weekly visit.
Right.
That's human nature, okay? That happens, I get in the car, I go do it because I not only feel an obligation, I know how it's going to turn out. Because I get to the facility, I get out of the car, I walk in that guy's room, and it's like the sun just rose. My little petty problems mean nothing because he greets me and he says, "How you doing? Good to see you." And he smiles. I'm under orders from him, his wife, and the volunteer coordinator. If he's asleep, wake him up.
I see.
No ifs, ands, or buts. If he's asleep, you wake him up. He does something that to me is just absolutely, it tells a lot about the guy. We'll talk about this. We talk about his hobbies. We talk about my hobbies. We talk a little bit about what's going on in the world and what have you. And I tell him some of the things I've been doing. Like I have a garden shed in the backyard, and I painted it this summer. I finally got to the point where I visited him one day. I said, "Well, I finally got the darn thing painted." He looks up at me, and he says, "Good for you." He says, "Good for you," anytime he hears something that's very pleasant and very nice.
Wow.
And like I said, it just makes my day.
That's very rewarding.
He's
isn't
a
it?
great guy. He's a great guy. I realized the other day, my first visit with him was the day we pinned him on June 11th last year. So I've been doing visits, except for a period when I was on vacation for a couple of weeks. I've been visiting every week since last June 11th, and he's a great guy.
And I understand there are situations where they call you and be there in 20 minutes, the person is passing,
yes.
and you jump into your car and get down there as quickly as you can. Is that correct?
That has been known to happen. Situations with my current patient is kind of the one side of the coin. The other side of the coin, and this speaks so well about the in-processing, if you will, of new hospice patients, because right from the get-go, they get information. You know, are you a veteran? Whether it's male, female, officer, enlisted, combat, non-combat, doesn't matter. Are you a veteran? I had one, 3 or 4 months ago, that the individual was admitted at 8 o'clock in the morning. I pinned him at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and before the sunrise rose the next day, he had passed away. Wow. It's just an honor to be able to do that. This is as much for the veterans as it is for the family. It's very much like Pat said. The orientation is not only just the patient, but it's the patient's family. And any number of times, the patient's family have told me how pleased they are that he was getting that individual respect. Back when this kind of started, the little bit of research I did told us that the group of veterans on the East Coast that tried to put this thing together initially felt that they needed to do something special and individualized for veterans in hospice care. That's how it started. And as it has gone forward, that has been the focus completely, and we've been able to do it, as I said, on an emergency basis. I had one in the middle of the summer. I had just finished mowing the back grass. It's about 80 degrees. I had 85 degrees out. I come in the house and I have visions of this bottle of beer, and I just decided to sit for a minute on my recliner, and the phone rang. So they told me they had this hurry up thing. I said, "You give me an hour and I'll be there." So I ran upstairs, real quick shave, showered, threw some decent clothes on, and we were able to do it. Some are non-responsive. Some veterans are non-responsive because they're very close to the end. Some of them, depending on what their ailment is, are very, very lucid and very, very talkative. One gentleman was in the Air Force, and we had a great talk. There was a mix-up in timing, and he was there by himself, and they asked him, he says, "Do you want to do it now, or do you want to wait till the family comes back?" He says, "Let's do it now." So he and I sat and told lies about the Air Force for about a half hour before I pinned him. And he was just a great guy. He was just a very, 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 very nice fellow. One of the things I want to emphasize, we all know the saying that you hear, how rewarding volunteering can be.
Yes.
Which goes without saying that is absolutely true. I have done things as a veteran with the American Legion. I was a chaplain for a while, Americanism chairman for a while. But this, on a one-to-one basis, is the most rewarding thing I think I have ever done. And I would encourage any volunteer,
Yeah, they say
anybody who's a veteron to get involved.
They say that volunteering is priceless. You don't get paid, but
Right.
it's priceless nonetheless.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And Christine, may I ask you, do you have a need for veterans such as John?
We do,
to
we
do
do.
this?
And we have, as Pat had indicated, volunteers that support us in a variety of ways throughout the organization. And specific to the We Honor Veterans program, we are always looking for veteran volunteers, male and female, to be able to come in and listen to the stories that our veterans want to tell, and share stories with them. If they so desire, we certainly welcome more people to be involved in the pinning ceremonies. That is a very
Excellent.
rewarding ceremony to be a part of, and this program. And so, yes, we encourage. We have training opportunities available 4 times a year here and in our other satellite office, Barberton Hospice and Palliative Care. So, yeah, we encourage people
Excellent.
to
Well,
give
we'll
us
have
a
to get the
call.
word out through the American
Yeah.
Legion and otherwise.
Absolutely. And
And-
John, as John says, it's a rewarding experience, but it also changes you. When you listen to the stories and you see, I mean, think about this Marine dying of Agent Orange, and he gave his time and his energy for his country, and now, dying as a result of that.
Right.
And then to have someone acknowledge that. Those of us who do this work all the time and are confronted with situations like this over and over, you begin to realize that some of the things that you thought were important are not as
so
important
are they?
as the relationships and as the legacy that you leave behind. And you live differently. You look at things a little differently. And so it's such an honor for us to be a part of this, that it's a privilege that you just don't get everywhere.
Right. Well, you're very special people for doing this. I have to, all of you. John, I have to say we're both members of the American Legion, but I want to thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And I have to tell everybody that veterans never get tired of hearing that. People walk up and they say it, I've been hugged. You have no idea how that is 10 times more valuable than you can imagine. So please, if you can thank a veteran, do so. Well, Pat, it was wonderful to have you. Christine,
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank
It was
you.
very informative, and John, certainly
Thank
thank you
you.
for your stories. Now we're going to do something special. In a moment, we're going to have John pin me to see what the ceremony is like. So we'll be back momentarily.
Tim, Hospice of Medina County, Barberton Hospice and Palliative Care. We appreciate our veterans. Tim Burns, United States Army. We pay special tribute to you for your military service to America and for advancing the universal hope of freedom and liberty for all. Signed by Pat Stropko O'Leary, Executive Director, January 30, 2012. Thank you for your service, Tim.
Thank you, sir.
And before I give this to you, I'm going to also thank you for your efforts on behalf of veterans. As a veteran yourself, I know, as you've told us, you teach military history to college students. You've had veterans in to talk to the college students, and I know just from chatting with you that you're very, very avid about some of the issues facing veterans today.
Yes, indeed.
And you want to try to do something about that. So both to honor your service as a veteran and to honor your service honor your service on active duty, and honor your service as a veteran. This certificate is presented to you with my deepest respect, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored indeed. At this time, I'd like to thank my guests for our first show. Thank you for joining us. It was
Thank you.
wonderful
Thank
having
Yes,
you.
thank
Yes.
you.
I'd like to thank all the veterans for their service that are viewing today. And I would like to remind the younger veterans that you should use your new GI Bill. That's invaluable. Have a nice evening. We'll see you next time.